Billionaire CEO Daniel Vale stood outside his son's hospital room and heard a sound he had waited 6 months to hear. Not a word, not a laugh. Just 3 small taps against a bed rail. Inside, Noah sat on the edge of the mattress while Elena Torres, the night cleaner, mopped the floor beneath the window. She was not looking at him. She was not asking questions. She was simply tapping the metal handle of her mop against the bucket once, twice, 3 times, then waiting. Noah answered. 3 tiny taps. Daniel stopped breathing. He knew immediately it was not random. It was a pattern. For half a year, he had paid for neurologists, child psychologists, private nurses, and grief counselors. They had brought charts, toys, medication plans, and expensive theories. His son had given them nothing. But this woman in a faded gray uniform had gotten a response while cleaning the floor. Daniel should have felt hope. Instead, he felt fear, because that rhythm was not new. He had heard it once before, buried beneath alarms, footsteps, and a doctor's trembling voice on the night his wife died. Elena turned and saw Daniel standing in the doorway. His face had gone pale. What did you do to him?
Get out,
he demanded. Elena looked at Noah, then at the machine beside his bed. I didn't do anything, she said. I think he's been trying to tell you what someone else did. For 3 seconds, the room stayed completely still. The private pediatric suite was built to make sickness look gentle. Pale blue walls, a silent television, a glass cabinet filled with untouched toys, an air purifier humming softly beside the window. But Daniel Vale's anger cut through every careful detail. Noah sat on the edge of the bed, one hand resting on the rail. Elena noticed the position of his fingers before anyone else did. 3 curled, 2 open, as if even his hand was trying to remember a sentence.
You have to
Daniel
stop
crossed the
doing
room.
this.
You need to leave,
He's not
he said.
ready yet.
Elena kept both hands on the mop handle. Her gray uniform was still damp at the cuffs. She did not step back, but she did not raise her voice either. Mr. Vale, your son responded to a repeated sound pattern. My son has not spoken in 6 months, Daniel said. Do you think I need a cleaner to explain his movements to me? A young nurse stopped at the doorway with a tablet in her arms. Behind her, Marlene, the senior nurse on the night shift, went quiet. Elena looked at Noah again. The boy was not looking at her anymore. His eyes had shifted toward the infusion pump beside the bed. The screen glowed green. A thin line ran from the clear medication bag down toward the port near his arm. His breathing did not change first, Elena said. Daniel turned. What? When a child panics, the breath usually changes before the hands do. Noah's left hand reacted before his chest did. She nodded toward the pump. He heard the machine before he looked at me. Daniel stared at her as if she had just touched something sacred. You clean floors, he said. Yes. Then clean floors. Noah tapped the rail again. Tap, tap, tap. A pause. Tap, tap. The sound was small, but every adult in the room heard it. Elena took one slow step forward. Daniel blocked her path. Don't.
Stay away from him.
I'm not going to touch him.
Stay away from him.
You're not going to speak to him. He is already speaking.
Let me tell you.
Daniel's face
you are
hardened.
Dismissed.
You're fired. The words landed in the room with a clean, practiced cruelty. Elena looked at him for a moment. Then she leaned the mop against the wall, removed her yellow gloves, and laid them across the rim of the bucket. The gesture was quiet, almost formal. Noah's eyes followed her. Elena walked toward the door. The nurses moved aside. No one defended her. In a building full of medical degrees and polished nameplates, her badge opened janitor closets and service corridors. That was all Daniel saw. Then the infusion pump released a low warning chirp. Not a full alarm. Just a brief alert most nurses would silence without thinking. Noah's hand struck the rail. Tap, tap, tap. Silence. Tap, tap. Elena stopped. Daniel heard it too. This time, the blood drained from his face. What is that? He whispered. Noah's mouth opened slightly, but no sound came out. His left hand slipped under the blanket, hiding itself, while his right hand stayed locked around the bed rail. Elena turned back. Her eyes moved from Noah to the pump, then to the laminated medication schedule clipped to the foot of the bed. She could not read every line from where she stood, but she saw one thing clearly. A printed time had been overwritten by hand. Her stomach tightened. Was this the same room? She asked. Daniel did not answer. The night your wife died, Elena said.
I won't.
Was she treated in this room? The young nurse inhaled. Marlene whispered.
Stop it.
Elena, stop. Daniel stepped closer. You do not talk about my wife. I'm talking about the machine. You have no right to talk about either. Elena looked at Noah. The boy was watching her with wet, terrified eyes. It was not the look of a child who wanted attention. It was the look of a child begging an adult not to misunderstand him again. I know what it sounds like, Elena said. When a child remembers a machine everyone else forgot. Daniel's anger changed shape. It became colder. Who are you? Elena did not answer. The true answer was buried under a suspended license, a sealed complaint, and a dead boy named Mateo. None of that would help Noah now. It would only give Daniel a reason to stop listening. So she reached into the pocket of her uniform, took out a folded paper towel, and borrowed the pen clipped to Marlene's cart. She wrote quickly, "Check the infusion pump event log. Night of Clara Vale, 9:43 p.m. Marlene saw the words and went pale. Daniel snatched the towel from Elena's hand before she could fold it. Enough. He crushed it in his fist. The event log can show whether the pump alerted before the code team arrived, Elena said.
I understand.
If it did, Noah may not be reacting to grief. He may be reacting to what happened that night. Daniel opened the door. Leave. Elena passed him into the hallway. The floor outside was so polished it reflected her gray shoes, the bucket, and Daniel's hand closed around the paper towel he had not thrown away. At the elevator, she pressed the down button. The doors opened. Then, from inside Noah's room, came the sound again. Dap, dap, dap. A pause. Tap, tap. Elena closed her eyes. For 1 second, she was not in Vale Children's Medical Center. She was in another hospital, another hallway, listening to another child try to tell adults something was wrong. She put her hand against the elevator door before it closed. Then she stepped back out. Daniel stood at Noah's doorway, warning her with his eyes not to come closer. Elena looked past him to the boy on the bed. "If you send me away," she said, "you may be sending away the only person in this hospital who understands what your son has been trying to say." Daniel's fist tightened. Inside it, the ink on the paper towel had begun to bleed. Vale Children's Medical Center did not look like a place where people came to lose someone. At night, the building glowed above the city like a private hotel. The walls were glass. The floors were white stone. The pediatric wing had soft lights, quiet doors, handmade toys, and nurses trained to speak gently, even when the news was terrible. Daniel Vale had helped build it. Then his wife died inside it. 6 months after Clara Vale's death, her son still had not spoken. Daniel had tried everything money could reach. He brought in neurologists from Boston. He hired child psychologists from Europe. He paid for speech therapists, grief counselors, private nurses, music therapy, art therapy, and every quiet promise that came with a professional title. Noah gave them nothing. He sat through sessions with his hands hidden under the blanket. He looked at picture cards without pointing. He watched puppets without smiling. When therapists asked him to choose a color for sadness, anger, or fear, he only lowered his eyes. The reports all sounded calm. Noah had trauma. Noah had selective mutism. Noah needed patience. Daniel read those words every night and hated how clean they were. Outside Noah's room, Daniel was one of the most powerful men in the city. Board members waited when he was late. Doctors lowered their voices when he walked into a department meeting. Donors smiled before he even finished a sentence. But inside that hospital room, his power ended at the foot of his son's bed. He could build a medical wing. He could hire the best names in the country. He could put his family name on every wall. He could not make Noah say, "Dad." That was the truth Daniel never said out loud. By morning, the story of Elena Torres had already moved through the private floor. No one announced it. They did not need to. A nurse paused when Elena passed. A supervisor checked her cart twice. A security guard watched her badge a little too long. In hospitals, punishment did not always come as shouting. Sometimes it came as silence. Elena kept working. Her shift was almost over. Her job might already be gone. But until someone took her badge, she finished what she had started. She wiped the service corridor outside radiology. She emptied linen bags. She replaced trash liners. She moved through the places no wealthy family looked at for more than a second. That was why she saw things. People with authority looked at charts, screens, and signatures. Elena looked at what got thrown away. Near the pediatric medication alcove, she noticed a laminated schedule in the trash. It was partly covered by gloves and empty packaging. She did not take it. She only looked long enough to see one strange detail. One evening time had been printed in black. Then someone had written over it in blue ink. A correction like that could mean nothing. Or it could mean someone wanted a record to look harmless. Later, near Noah's room, Elena saw another small thing. His allergy wristband had been replaced. The new one was clean and bright. It listed his name, date of birth, and medical number. But Elena remembered the old band. She had seen it in a waste bag 2 nights earlier. The old band had carried a small red sticker. It meant a previous adverse reaction was still under review. The new band did not have that sticker. Again, it proved nothing. That was the problem with small warnings. Alone, each one could be explained away. Together, they began to whisper. At 10 in the morning, Dr. Julian Kessler arrived on the pediatric floor. He did not rush. He never rushed. He had silver hair, calm eyes, and the careful warmth of a man who had comforted rich families for years. Parents trusted him because he never looked surprised. Reporters liked him because he could make fear sound manageable. Daniel met him outside Noah's room. I heard there was trouble last night, Kessler said. Daniel looked through the glass. Noah sat in bed with a picture book open on his lap. He had not turned a page. A staff member upset him, Daniel said. Kessler waited. Daniel added, Elena Torres, night cleaning. Did she touch him? No. Did she access his chart? No. Then what did she do? Daniel felt the crushed paper towel in his jacket pocket. He had meant to throw it away. He had not. She said something about the infusion pump, he said. For the first time, Kessler's eyes moved toward the machine beside Noah's bed. Only for a second. Then his expression returned to normal. What exactly did she say? Daniel did not pull out the paper towel. She said to check the event log. Kessler gave a small, tired smile. Machines create alerts all day. Pressure changes, line movement, low battery warnings. A grieving child can attach fear to ordinary sounds. Daniel looked at him. I am not a grieving child. No, Kessler said softly. But you are a grieving father. Before Daniel could answer, Monica Graff stepped out of the elevator. She carried a leather folder against her side. She was the hospital's director of risk management. Everyone knew what that meant. Monica's job was to keep mistakes from becoming lawsuits, and lawsuits from becoming headlines. Daniel, she said, we need to talk before the foundation luncheon. The luncheon can wait. Not if rumors start first. Daniel turned from the glass. Monica lowered her voice. A non-clinical employee made comments about Clara's case in front of staff. That creates exposure. Daniel hated that word. Exposure. As if his wife's death were not a wound, but a window someone had forgotten to close. Kessler spoke gently. No one wants to reopen Clara's final hours because a member of the cleaning staff heard a pattern in a machine. Daniel looked back at Noah. His son's hands had disappeared under the blanket again. For 6 months, every expert had told Daniel the same story. Noah was trapped inside grief. Noah was not ready. Noah needed time. Daniel had believed them because the other possibility was worse. The other possibility meant Noah had been trying to say something, and everyone had missed it. What about the pump from Clara's room? Daniel asked. Monica blinked once. Kessler did not. That equipment was processed months ago, Monica said. Pumps are cleaned, serviced, rotated, and reassigned. I asked if anyone checked the log. Kessler answered before Monica could. I can ask biomedical to confirm standard maintenance. But Daniel, be careful. A sound can become a memory. A memory can become a story. That does not make it evidence. Daniel said nothing. That afternoon, Monica sent him the official summary of Clara's death again. He opened it alone in his office. The language was familiar. Acute reaction during treatment. No preventable error found. Code response followed protocol. Daniel read the summary twice. Then he opened the drawer, where he had put Elena's paper towel. The ink had blurred where his fist had crushed it. But the time was still clear. Check the infusion pump event log. Night of Clara Vale. 9:43 at night. Daniel stared at the number. Outside his office, the hospital moved with its usual expensive calm. Elevators opened. Nurses crossed polished floors. Donors arrived with flowers for children they would never meet. Downstairs, Elena Torres pushed her cleaning cart toward the employee exit. She was certain her badge would stop working before sunset. Daniel should have thrown the paper towel away. Instead, he folded it once. Then he placed it inside Clara's medical summary and closed the file. The first real break did not come from a doctor. It came from a medication tray. Elena was near the employee exit when Marlene's voice came through the pediatric floor speaker. Dr. Kessler, to room 7. Now please. Elena stopped. Room 7 was Noah's room. Her badge still worked. Her job probably did not. She had been told to leave, and every smart part of her knew she should keep walking. Then, she heard it. A low chirp from an infusion pump. Then a fast, uneven tapping. Not the same rhythm as before. This one was frightened. Elena turned her cart around. Inside Noah's room, the air felt tight. Noah sat upright, his back pressed against the raised bed. His right hand struck the rail again and again. His left hand was hidden under the blanket. Marlene stood near him with a small medication tray. A younger nurse held a tablet open to the MAR, the medication administration record. Her finger hovered over the next line. Daniel stood by the window, looking powerful and useless at the same time. Dr. Kessler entered a few seconds later. What happened? He asked. He saw the syringe, Marlene said. Then the pump chirped. Kessler looked at Noah. Then, at the tray. A mild sedative, he said. He is escalating. Elena stepped into the doorway. Wait. Daniel turned first. You were told to leave. I know. Then why are you here? Elena looked at Noah. Because his hand moved before his breathing changed. Kessler gave her a calm, warning look. That is not your assessment to make. It is not an assessment, Elena said. It is an observation. Noah tapped faster. Elena kept her voice low. Watch his left thumb. Daniel did not want to obey her. But he looked. Under the blanket, Noah's thumb pressed hard into his palm. The skin around it had gone pale. If this were general panic, Elena said, his breathing would lead. His shoulders would rise first. But his hand reacted before the syringe came close. Marlene glanced at the tablet. The dose is PRN, she said, as needed. For anxiety? Elena asked. Marlene nodded. Elena looked at Noah's eyes. He is not looking at the syringe. Daniel followed her gaze. Noah was staring past Marlene. At the infusion pump, the room went quiet. Kessler stepped closer to the bed. Noah connects the machine with his mother's death. That does not mean the machine harmed her. No, Elena said, but it means we should not sedate him before we know what he is trying to say. The word sedate changed the room. Daniel looked at the tray. Kessler's voice stayed smooth. This child is suffering. We do not need to turn trauma into an interrogation. Then do not interrogate him, Elena said. She turned to Daniel. Let him answer without words. For 6 months, every specialist had tried to make Noah speak. They had used cards, toys, questions, drawings, and soft voices. No one had asked his hands. Daniel looked from Elena to his son. 1 minute, he said. Kessler did not like it, but he stepped back. Elena moved only 1 step into the room. She kept both hands visible. Noah, she said, I will not touch you. The boy's tapping slowed. 1 tap means yes. 2 taps mean no. She tapped once on the metal edge of her cart. Then she waited. Noah did not answer. Kessler exhaled softly. Elena did not react. Noah, she said, do you want everyone to stop talking? 1 tap. Small. Clear. Daniel froze. Marlene lowered the medication tray. Elena nodded. All right. We can be quiet. And for the first time in that room, the adults obeyed the child. Elena waited until Noah's shoulders loosened. Are you afraid of Nurse Marlene? 2 taps. Marlene closed her eyes in relief. Are you afraid of the syringe? Noah looked at the tray. No answer. Elena changed the question. Are you afraid of the sound? 1 tap. Daniel looked at the pump again. Elena's next question came softer. Did you hear that sound the night your mother died? Kessler stepped forward. That is enough. Daniel lifted 1 hand. Kessler stopped. Noah's eyes filled with tears. His right hand moved. 1 tap. The sound was tiny, but it broke the room open. Daniel gripped the back of a chair. The young nurse looked down at the MAR, then at the pump, as if both had suddenly become part of the same sentence. Kessler recovered first. Children connect memories in fragments, he said. This does not establish medical fact. No, Elena said. It establishes that he has been trying to answer. Kessler turned to Daniel. You need to protect him from suggestion. Elena nodded. Then ask him something I do not know. Daniel looked at her. Something safe, Elena said. Nothing about Clara, nothing about the pump. For a moment, Daniel was not the CEO of anything. He was just a father afraid to hope. He moved closer to the bed. "Noah," he said, his voice rough. "Do you remember the blue whale in your room at home?" Noah blinked. "One tap." Daniel swallowed. "Is it on the top shelf?" 2 taps. Daniel's face changed. "No," he whispered. "It is under your desk." Noah's hand relaxed. 1 tap. Daniel turned away, but not fast enough. Everyone saw what hope did to him. For the first time in 6 months, his son had answered him. Not with a word, but with meaning. Elena stepped back. She did not smile. A child's pain was not a performance. Marlene set the medication tray on the counter. The younger nurse updated the MAR with shaking hands. Daniel wiped his face once. Then he looked at Elena. "You can stay for now." Kessler turned toward him. "Daniel, for now," Daniel repeated. Then his eyes returned to Elena. "Under supervision. You do not touch his chart. You do not touch medication. And you do not speak to my son unless I approve it." Elena looked at Noah. His hand rested open on the rail now. Not hidden. Open. "I can accept supervision," she said, "but I will not help you bury what he is trying to say." Daniel's expression hardened. Not as much as before, but enough. Kessler adjusted his cuff. "Then we should all be very careful about what we think the child is saying." Elena looked at the infusion pump. A thin green line pulsed across its screen. "Yes," she said. "We should." At that moment, Noah tapped once. No one had asked him anything. Elena turned back. Noah was looking at Dr. Kessler. The young nurse's name was Lily Park. Elena learned that because Lily followed her into the service corridor after Noah's room finally went quiet. Not far. Just far enough that Daniel could not hear. "Were you a nurse?" Lily asked. Elena kept walking. The cleaning cart squeaked once. Elena adjusted the front wheel with her foot and pushed it forward. Lily tried again. "You knew what to watch. The thumb, the breathing, the order of the reaction. People do not learn that from mopping floors." Elena stopped beside a linen closet. For a moment, she looked older than she had in Noah's room. "I learned it from children who could not explain pain the way adults wanted them to." Lily waited. Elena opened the closet and began stacking folded sheets. Her hands moved with neat, practiced speed. Corners matched, labels faced outward. Nothing wasted. "There was a boy," Elena said. Her voice stayed low. "His name was Mateo Ramirez. He was 6. He had dark hair, a crooked front tooth, and a red toy truck he would not let anyone wash." Lily said nothing. Mateo did not speak much after surgery. Not because he could not understand. He understood everything. He just did not trust words anymore. So we made another system. Elena tapped once on the shelf. 1 meant yes. She tapped twice. 2 meant no. Lily's face changed. "Like Noah." Elena nodded. "Not exactly. Children make their own doors. You do not force one open. You find the handle they are already touching." She pulled a clean blanket from the cart. "Mateo used taps to tell me when light hurt his eyes, when his chest felt tight, when he was scared of a certain doctor. Small things at first, then important things." The corridor was empty, but Elena still lowered her voice. "One night his fever dropped too fast. His pulse changed before the monitor alarmed. I checked the medication bag. The lot number on the vial did not match the entry in the medication record." Lily whispered. "A medication error?" Elena looked at her. At Preventable 1, a door opened somewhere down the hall. Both women fell silent until the footsteps faded. "I reported it," Elena said. "I wrote down the time, the dose, the nurse assigned, the doctor called. I asked for the pump log before anyone could clear the machine." "What happened?" Elena smiled once, without warmth. "The report changed." Lily did not move. Elena continued folding. By morning, the wrong dose became a delay in observation. The missing log became a maintenance issue. The doctor's override became an emergency judgment call, and I became the nurse who failed to monitor a child. Lily's eyes dropped to Elena's badge. "Elena, do not look sorry for me," Elena said. The words were not sharp. They were tired. Sorry does not reopen a file. Lily swallowed. "Is that why your license?" "Yes." That one word closed the corridor for a few seconds. Then Elena pushed the cart again. "I was suspended, then removed, then quietly made unemployable. Hospitals do not have to blacklist you out loud. They just stop returning calls." She looked toward Noah's room. "I took work where no one asked for references that hurt to explain." Lily followed her gaze. Does Daniel know? He will. The answer came from behind them. Daniel stood at the end of the corridor. Neither woman had heard him arrive. His face was unreadable, but his eyes were on Elena. Not angry this time. Not grateful either. Something more dangerous. Doubt with information. Lily stepped back. Daniel held a tablet in one hand. I asked HR for your file, he said. Elena did not answer. He walked closer. Elena Torres, former pediatric nurse. License suspended after an internal review connected to the death of Mateo Ramirez. Lily looked stricken. Elena kept her hands on the cart handle. Daniel read from the screen. Negligence, resulting in pediatric fatality. The words hung between them. A cart rolled past at the far end of the hall. A nurse laughed softly near the elevator. The ordinary sounds of the hospital went on, as if nothing had been said. Daniel lowered the tablet. You were going to tell me this when? Elena met his eyes. When you were ready to hear the whole file, not just the line written to bury me? Daniel's jaw tightened. Do you understand what position you put me in? You are asking me to let you near my son after another child died under your care. No, Elena said. I'm asking you not to let a child's death be used twice. That stopped him. For 1 second, Lily looked between them as if the floor had shifted. Elena reached into her cart and pulled out a sealed disposal bag. Inside was an empty medication wrapper from Noah's room. She did not hand it to Daniel. She only held it up. Check the lot number against the MAR, she said. And ask why a PRN sedative was prepared before Noah escalated. Daniel looked at the wrapper. Then at Elena. You kept this? I preserved it. That sounds very convenient. It usually does when the person preserving evidence has no title. Daniel's face hardened again. But this time, Elena saw fear behind it. Not fear of her. Fear that she might be right. At the nurse's station, Dr. Kessler appeared around the corner. He saw Daniel. He saw Elena. He saw the disposal bag in her hand. His expression did not change. That was what made Elena colder. Kessler smiled gently. Is there a problem here? Elena looked at him and remembered another hallway. Another child. Another report rewritten before sunrise. Daniel slipped the tablet under his arm. Yes, he said, but his eyes stayed on Elena. I am trying to decide who is the problem. Elena did not look away. So am I, she said. Daniel did not let Elena near Noah again that afternoon, but he did not send her away either. That was the first sign that something had changed. He called it a controlled review. Monica called it unnecessary exposure. Kessler called it emotional overreach. Elena called it a door left open by 1 inch. She was moved to a small consultation room beside the pediatric supply office. Not a medical office, not a staff room. A space with 2 plastic chairs, 1 wall clock, and a table no one had bothered to clean well. Daniel sat across from her. Marlene stood by the door. Lily stayed near the wall, holding a tablet. Kessler did not sit. He preferred standing when he wanted the room to remember who had authority. Daniel placed Noah's medication wrapper on the table, the one Elena had preserved. Explain, he said. Elena did not touch it. Check the lot number against the MAR, she said. Then check who pulled it from the automated dispensing cabinet. Lily looked at Daniel. He nodded once. Her fingers moved across the tablet. The MAR showed the sedative as prepared after Noah escalated. The dispensing cabinet showed it had been removed 9 minutes earlier. Marlene's mouth tightened. Daniel leaned forward. Is that possible? It happens, Kessler said. Nurses prepare medication in anticipation. It is not unusual. Elena looked at him. For routine care, maybe. Not for a child with a trauma trigger no one claims to understand. Kessler smiled faintly. Careful, Miss Torres. You are not licensed to interpret medication practice. No, Elena said, but clocks do not need a license. The room went quiet. Daniel looked at Lily. Print both records. Monica would have hated that sentence. Elena knew because everyone in risk management hated paper. Paper left shape, paper could be copied, paper could survive a deleted file. Lily printed the MAR first. Then the cabinet pull record. The times did not match. Not enough to prove a crime. Enough to prove someone had acted before the child did. Daniel stared at the 2 pages. His face did not soften. It sharpened. What else? He asked. Elena took a breath. The infusion pump in Noah's room. I need the serial number. Kessler stepped in at once. No. Daniel turned. Kessler kept his tone calm. There is no reason to pull equipment into this. Noah's treatment today was not a pump failure. I did not say it failed, Elena said. I said he reacted to it. Daniel looked at Marlene. Get the serial number. Marlene hesitated only a second before leaving. Kessler watched her go. Elena saw it. A small thing. A controlled thing. But it was there. For the first time, Kessler had lost the timing of the room. Marlene returned with the number written on a sticky label. Lily entered it into the maintenance system. A red notice appeared. Device serviced. Main board replacement. 6 months prior. Daniel went still. Date, Elena said. Lily checked. The replacement had happened 2 days after Clara Vale died. Kessler gave a small sigh. Equipment is serviced after critical events. That is standard. Who authorized it? Daniel asked. Lily scrolled. There was no name. Only a department code. Biomedical engineering. Elena leaned closer, but still did not touch the tablet. Maintenance systems keep more than the official log, she said. Sometimes the pump stores a cache. Error history. Alarm pattern. Last diagnostic scan. It depends on whether the board was wiped before replacement. Daniel looked at her. How do you know that? Elena kept her eyes on the screen. Because in Mateo's case, the official log disappeared. The maintenance cache did not. The name made the room colder. Kessler finally sat down. It was the first time all day he looked less like a doctor and more like a man preparing for a deposition. Daniel noticed. So did Elena. Before anyone spoke, Lily's tablet chimed. She had opened the old biomedical request connected to the pump. Most of the fields were blank, but one note remained. Family requested quiet handling. Daniel's voice dropped. I did not request that. No one answered. Marlene crossed her arms. That phrase gets used when risk management does not want equipment tagged for outside review. Daniel looked toward the closed door. Monica was not in the room, but her shadow was. Elena pointed to another field. Linked patient case. Lily opened it. Access denied. Daniel reached for the tablet. His executive credential opened the file. The linked case was not Noah. It was Clara Vale. For a long moment, even the wall clock seemed too loud. Daniel read the line twice. Then he looked at Elena as if seeing her had become harder, not easier. You are telling me the pump in my son's room is linked to my wife's case? I am saying the system says it is, Elena said. And systems only lie when people teach them how. Kessler stood again. This has gone far enough. Daniel did not look at him. Has it? Kessler's voice softened. Daniel. Grief wants a villain. Elena answered before Daniel could. And hospitals want a file that closes. That one landed. Marlene looked down. Lily stopped typing. Daniel turned toward Elena. You said Clara may have been reacting to something. Why would anyone hide that? Elena did not want to answer too quickly, because the answer would hurt him. Maybe Clara was not only a patient, she said. Daniel frowned. What does that mean? Lily, still searching, found the next piece. It was not in Clara's treatment record. It was in an archived folder under patient relations. 3 complaints. 3 different families. All marked resolved. All connected to medication timing errors. All reviewed by the same physician. Julian Kessler. Daniel looked at Kessler. For the first time, the doctor did not have an answer ready. Elena spoke carefully. Did Clara ever ask about medication errors? His expression tightened, not with anger this time, but fear. Not because he knew, because he remembered not listening. A dinner interrupted by a phone call. Clara at the kitchen island with 3 printed pages. Daniel telling her they would talk after the foundation audit. They never did. She said there was a pattern, he whispered. Kessler stood. This is speculation. Daniel did not move. Elena looked at the complaint files on the tablet. No, she said. This is the part before evidence. The part where people decide whether they are brave enough to keep looking. Daniel looked at the locked screen. Then at the pump serial number. Then toward Noah's room. For the first time since Clara died, the question was no longer whether his son would speak. The question was what the hospital had done to make sure no one heard him. By late afternoon, the hospital stopped whispering. It started choosing sides. The first attack came dressed as concern. Dr. Kessler called a short clinical meeting in the pediatric conference room. He did not raise his voice. He did not accuse Elena directly. That was what made it work. He stood beside the screen with Clara's case file closed behind him. There has been confusion today, he said, and confusion is dangerous around a child already living inside trauma. Marlene sat near the back. Lily stood by the wall, holding a tablet too tightly. Daniel was at the end of the table. Elena was not invited. Kessler continued. A non-clinical employee has been allowed to influence the interpretation of a vulnerable child's behavior. I understand why. We all want answers. But wanting answers does not create expertise. No one said Elena's name. No one had to. Monica Graff sat beside Daniel with a folder open in front of her. The hospital has protocols for a reason, she said. When staff outside their role begin making medical claims, the institution is exposed. The child is exposed. The family is exposed. Daniel looked at the closed file on the screen. What are you recommending? Monica slid a paper toward him. Immediate restriction. Elena Torres should have no unsupervised contact with Noah, no access to clinical areas, no communication with staff about treatment. Lily looked up. That will cut off the only method Noah has used to answer. Kessler turned to her gently. Or it will protect him from reinforcement. The word sounded harmless. That was the danger. Lily opened her mouth again. Marlene touched her wrist under the table. Not now. Kessler looked back at Daniel. Daniel, your son is not evidence. He is a child. Daniel's face tightened. It was a perfect sentence. It made disagreeing feel cruel. That was round one. They did not call Elena a liar. They called her unqualified. They did not say she had bad intentions. They said she was outside her role. By the next hour, the restriction had traveled faster than any formal memo. A nurse stopped speaking when Elena entered the supply hall. A technician moved a box away from her cart. Security appeared near the pediatric elevator and pretended to check badges at random. Elena understood the language. Hospitals had used it on her before. You did not need a locked door when every person became one. She kept working. She replaced trash liners. She wiped spill marks. She moved through service corridors with her eyes open and her face unreadable. Then round two arrived. Monica found Daniel outside Noah's room and handed him a sealed HR packet. I did not want to bring this to you in the hallway, she said. But you are. It cannot wait. Daniel opened the packet. The first page was Elena's old disciplinary summary. The language was neat. Professional. Deadly. Former pediatric nurse. Suspended license. Internal review confirmed negligence. Patient death. Mateo Ramirez. Daniel read the page once. Then again. Monica kept her voice low. She has a documented history of attaching herself to pediatric cases after a fatal error. That does not mean she is malicious, but it does mean she may be unstable around children who remind her of past trauma. Daniel did not answer. Through the glass, Noah sat with his hands folded in his lap. Kessler joined them a moment later, as if by chance. He glanced at the packet, then at Daniel. I am sorry, he said. Daniel looked at him. You knew? I reviewed the summary when her name came up this morning. And you did not tell me? I wanted facts before fear. It sounded noble. Elena would have recognized the shape of it. Delay the truth. Then claim you were protecting people from panic. Kessler softened his voice. People who carry guilt often search for patterns. They need the world to be guilty too. It is the only way they survive what they did. Daniel's eyes moved back to the file. What they did. The words entered him quietly, then stayed. Down the hall, Elena saw the three of them through the glass reflection of a supply cabinet. Monica, Kessler, Daniel with the file. She knew what page he was reading before she saw his face. Her stomach went cold. Lily found her 10 minutes later in the linen room. They are using Mateo, Lily whispered. Elena kept folding blankets. Yes, you have to explain. To whom? To Daniel. Elena looked at her. Daniel is not deciding whether I suffered. He is deciding whether I am safe near his son. Pain will not win that argument. Evidence might. Lily swallowed. I got a warning. Elena stopped folding. For helping me? For discussing treatment with unauthorized staff. Elena's face changed. Then stop helping. No. Lily. No, Lily said again, quieter this time. If Noah was my patient, and I ignored this, I would never sleep again. Before Elena could answer, the linen room door opened. Marlene stood there. For a second, neither woman moved. Marlene had avoided Elena all day. She had not defended her in the meeting. She had not challenged Kessler. Now she stepped inside and closed the door. I did not give you this, Marlene said. She slid a folded paper into Elena's cart, under a stack of clean sheets. Then she left. Elena waited until the footsteps faded. Lily reached for the paper. Elena stopped her. Gloves. Lily put on a pair from the shelf. Then she opened it. It was an old incident report. Mateo Ramirez. The copy was faded. One corner had been bent so many times it was soft. Near the bottom, under external clinical review, there was a signature. Julian Kessler. Lily looked up. He was involved? Elena stared at the name. Not shocked. Not exactly. More like someone hearing a lock click in a room she had been trapped in for years. Behind them, a soft sound came from the hallway. Daniel stood outside the linen room. He had seen the paper. He had seen Elena's face. And for the first time, his doubt had two directions. Daniel chose his private office because he thought it would give him control. It did not. The room was quiet, high above the pediatric floor, with a view of the city and a wall of framed awards behind his desk. Elena sat across from him in the same gray uniform she had worn all night. There was a small tear near one sleeve. A faint bleach mark crossed her cuff. Daniel noticed both details. He wished he had not. Monica's NDA lay on the desk between them. 3 pages. Clean margins. Simple language. Temporary confidentiality. No independent contact with staff. No discussion of patient care. No public statement. No removal of hospital materials. Daniel pushed the papers toward her. This is not an admission of wrongdoing, he said. It is protection. Elena looked at the first page. For whom? For Noah. For the hospital. For everyone involved. She did not touch the pen. Daniel leaned back. I will pay for counsel. Independent counsel. You can reopen your licensing issue. You can challenge the old file. Quietly. There it was. Not a threat. Not exactly a bribe. Something more polished. A way to make silence sound like help. Elena folded her hands in her lap. And in exchange, I stop talking to your son. You stop involving yourself in a clinical matter until we know what is true. He is 7, Elena said. He is not a clinical matter. Daniel's jaw tightened. You think I do not know that? I think you know it when you are standing beside his bed. I think you forget it when lawyers enter the room. The words hit harder because she did not raise her voice. Daniel stood and walked to the window. Below them, ambulances moved through the private entrance. Small red lights flashed against the glass. He watched until he trusted himself to speak. You have no idea what happens if this becomes public too early, he said. Thousands of patients, staff, donors, research programs, children who need this hospital. Elena looked at the NDA again. And what happens if it stays private too long? Daniel turned. Do not make this simple. I am not. Simple as signing that paper and pretending a child's fear can wait for legal review. For a moment, he hated her. Not because she was wrong, because she spoke like someone who had already paid the price he was still trying to avoid. Daniel opened a drawer. He took out his phone. There is something else, he said. Elena watched his hand. It was not steady. He played the voicemail. Clara's voice filled the office. Soft, tired, alive. Daniel, I know you are in the audit dinner. I am sorry. But I found the same timing issue in 3 medication complaints. It is not random. It keeps pointing back to the same review chain. Please call me when you can. The message ended. The silence after it was worse than the words. Elena did not speak first. Daniel stared at the phone. She left that 2 hours before she died, he said. Elena's face changed. You kept this from the review. I did not know what it meant. You knew it mattered. Daniel looked up sharply. My wife was dead. My son had stopped speaking. I was being asked to sign statements, comfort donors, plan a funeral, and keep this hospital open. And Clara was asking you to listen. That one stripped the room bare. Daniel put the phone down. I was trying to protect what she built with me. No, Elena said. You were protecting the place that may have failed her. He stepped toward the desk. That is an accusation. It is a possibility. You are the one afraid to name it. Daniel picked up the NDA and held it out. I am asking for time. Elena stood. No. You are asking me to trade Noah's voice for your control. He is my son, and right now, he trusts a language you do not speak. Daniel flinched. Elena saw it and did not soften. If you want my help, I will give it where Noah can be heard. Not where his words become a file only Monica can open. Daniel lowered the papers. What do you want? An outside review of Clara's case. Protection for Lily and Marlene. Access to the pump records through a neutral technician. And no sedating Noah just because his answers make adults uncomfortable. Daniel gave a bitter laugh. You came into my hospital with a mop bucket and now you are giving terms? Elena looked at him for a long moment. I came into your hospital invisible. That is why I saw what visible people walked past. The office door opened before Daniel could answer. Marlene stood there, pale. Noah is asking for Elena. Hope crossed his face before he could hide it. He said her name? Marlene shook her head. He tapped once when Lily pointed to her badge photo, twice for everyone else. Elena looked at Daniel. The NDA still hung in his hand. For the first time, it looked less like a document and more like a wall. Daniel did not sign it. He did not tear it either. He only placed it back on the desk. That does not mean I trust you, he said. Elena walked toward the door. No, she said. It means you are running out of reasons not to listen. The machine was scheduled to disappear at 6. Elena found out by accident. She was in the supply corridor, restocking gloves under Marlene's supervision, when a biomedical technician stopped outside Noah's room with a rolling equipment case. On the clipboard was a simple line. Replace infusion pump. Routine calibration. Noah saw the case through the glass. His hand closed around the bed rail. Elena saw it too. So did Lily. Why are they replacing it now? Lily whispered. Elena did not answer at once. Routine work had a rhythm. This did not. The technician was early. The form was incomplete. There was no parent signature, no nurse request, no note from the attending physician. Only one authorization line. Risk management. Elena felt the old cold return to her hands. If that pump left the room, the official log could vanish with it. If the main unit went to biomedical, a board could be wiped. A cache could be cleared. A mistake could become maintenance. Again. She turned toward Daniel's office first. That was important. She tried the proper way first. His assistant said he was unavailable. Monica had pulled him into an emergency donor call. Kessler was with him. Elena looked back toward Noah's room. The technician had already unplugged the pump. Noah began tapping. Fast. Not words now. Fear. Marlene stepped in front of Elena. Do not do anything stupid. Elena looked at her. If they clear that machine, he loses the only witness adults cannot intimidate. Marlene's face tightened. You touch it, they will bury you. They already tried. Elena walked into the room. The technician looked up. Ma'am, you cannot be in here. I know. Noah watched her with wet eyes. Elena kept her hands where he could see them. I am not leaving you, she said softly. The boy's tapping slowed. She turned to the pump. The side panel was already loose. The technician had opened it to remove the service cartridge before transport. That was the small piece Elena needed. Not the whole machine. Not the medication line. The cartridge. A narrow gray component no bigger than 2 fingers, used to store maintenance history and diagnostic events before the unit synced with the central system. If it reached biomedical under Monica's control, Elena might never see it again. She reached for a pair of gloves. The technician blocked her. I said you cannot touch this. Elena looked at him. Then write down that I asked you to preserve the cartridge under chain of custody. He blinked. What? Write it. He looked toward the hallway. There was no supervisor. No Daniel. No neutral witness. Only Noah, Marlene, Lily, and the quiet machine that had become more dangerous than any person in the room. The technician reached for his phone. Elena moved first. She did not yank the pump. She did not touch the line. She did not go near Noah's IV port. She removed the loose cartridge from the open side panel and placed it inside a sterile specimen bag from the counter. Lily gasped. Marlene closed her eyes. Elena, she whispered. Elena sealed the bag. Then she wrote the time on the label. 6:12 p.m. Pump from room 7. Do not clear. Noah watched every movement. For one brief second, his face relaxed. Then security arrived. Not one guard. 3. Monica came behind them with Daniel at her side. Kessler followed last. That order told Elena everything. Monica did not look surprised. Daniel did. What are you doing? He asked. Elena held up the sealed bag. Preserving the cartridge before the pump is cleared. Monica's voice was quiet and sharp. She removed a component from active medical equipment in a pediatric room. The line was disconnected, Elena said. That is not your determination to make. Kessler stepped to Noah's bed. The boy pulled away from him. Daniel saw it. But then Monica lifted her tablet. Security footage played on the screen. No sound. Only Elena entering the room. Elena approaching the pump. Elena removing something from the machine. New context. No request to preserve evidence. No view of the incomplete form. No sound of Noah tapping in panic. Just a woman with a ruined nursing record taking a piece from a child's medical device. Daniel's face changed. Elena saw the moment happen. Doubt won. Monica did not raise her voice. Daniel, this is no longer about interpretation. This is equipment interference. Kessler looked wounded on Noah's behalf. She may believe she is helping, he said, but belief does not make a person safe. Elena turned to Daniel. You know why I did it? I know what I am seeing. No, she said. You are seeing what they left the camera able to see. The words struck him, but not hard enough. Monica held out her hand. The bag. Elena did not move. Daniel's voice dropped. Elena. Noah tapped once from the bed. A small yes, or a plea. No one asked. No one listened. Security stepped closer. Elena looked at Lily. Document who takes it. Lily's hand shook as she opened the tablet. Monica snapped. Nurse Park, stop. Lily froze. Marlene took one step forward. Then stopped too. Fear had weight in that room. Elena placed the sealed bag on the counter. Not in Monica's hand. On the counter, where everyone could see it. Chain of custody starts here, she said. Monica smiled without warmth. Chain of custody started before you contaminated it. Daniel looked away. That hurt more than security. The guards escorted Elena out past Noah's bed. Noah began tapping again. Fast. Then faster. Kessler told Marlene to prepare a mild sedative. Elena stopped walking. Daniel heard it, but he did not turn fast enough. At the elevator, Elena looked back through the glass. Noah's hand was red against the rail. The cartridge sat on the counter between Monica and Daniel. A small gray thing. A tiny piece of truth. And now, in the eyes of the hospital, it looked like proof that Elena Torres had finally gone too far. By the next morning, Elena Torres was no longer just suspended. She was dangerous. That was the word Monica used in the emergency report. Dangerous to equipment, dangerous to patient trust, dangerous to no avail. The report moved fast. Faster than any medication review had moved. Faster than any complaint Clara had filed before she died. Elena read a copy from the bench outside the employee entrance. Her badge no longer opened the door. Inside, Lily Park had been suspended pending review. Marlene had been removed from Noah's room and reassigned to post-op recovery. The old incident report on Mateo had vanished from Elena's cart. Every small bridge had been cut. Monica had done it cleanly. Kessler did it softly. At 9 that morning, a child trauma consultant arrived. His name was Dr. Samuel Brigg. His suit was expensive. His words were gentle. His conclusion was already shaped before he met Noah. Elena Torres appears to have reinforced the child's trauma response, he told Daniel. The tapping may now be tied to her presence. Removing her is medically appropriate. Daniel stood behind the glass of Noah's room. Noah sat on the bed with a sheet of paper in front of him. He was not drawing a face. He was drawing dots. 3 dots. A space. 2 dots. Beside them, he drew a small rectangle with a yellow corner. Daniel looked at it for a long time. What is that? He asked. Dr. Brigg smiled kindly. Children repeat images after stress. It may not mean anything. Daniel almost accepted that. Then he remembered Clara. A week before she died, she had stood in their kitchen holding a stack of printed complaints. He had been answering emails. She had said, "Why does the same yellow service sticker keep showing up?" He had said, "Clara, not tonight." Not tonight? Those 2 words returned like a sentence passed down too late. Outside the hospital, Elena called the only person who might still know where truth hid after a machine had been cleaned. Paul Renner, former biomedical technician, retired. Not voluntarily. He answered on the 5th ring. "Elena," he said, and then nothing for a moment. "You remember Mateo's pump?" she said. "I remember losing my job after asking about it. I need help." "No. They are doing it again." Silence. Elena stood under the hospital parking structure, rainwater dripping from the concrete above her. "A boy is alive this time," she said. "But they are teaching everyone not to hear him." Paul breathed out. "Meet me at the loading dock in 20 minutes. He arrived in an old brown coat with a toolbox that looked older than the hospital's youngest nurses. He did not hug Elena. He did not ask if she was all right. People who had been ruined by the same system did not waste time pretending the answer was yes. "What do you have?" he asked. Elena showed him a photo Lily had sent before her suspension. The pump serial number, the replacement form. The note that said mainboard changed 2 days after Clara died. Paul zoomed in on the serial number. Then his face changed. This casing and that board do not belong together. Elena went still. How can you tell? The service prefix. He pointed to the first 4 characters. That unit was manufactured in a later batch. But the board number in the replacement form belongs to an older series. So the machine was rebuilt? Or dressed up? The words landed hard. Paul opened his toolbox and pulled out a small diagnostic reader. If they scanned it before replacing the board, the manufacturer would have a service report. Hospitals delete logs. Manufacturers keep billing records. Elena looked toward the hospital. Can you access it? Not legally. She waited. Paul hid. But I can request my own old service archive. I kept copies when I knew they were going to blame me for missing things I reported. They went to his apartment above a closed repair shop. It smelled like dust, solder, and coffee left too long on a burner. Paul's old computer took 6 minutes to start. Elena did not rush him. While he searched, her phone buzzed. A message from Lily. They are making Daniel sign a statement. It says you interfered with equipment and induced Noah's behavior. They are moving the hearing to 3. Elena looked at the clock. 1:46. Paul found the first file at 2:10. Service report. Pump model. Serial number. Diagnostic scan. The report showed an alarm sequence at 9:43 p.m. on the night Clara died. 3 short pressure alerts. Pause. 2 low flow warnings. Elena gripped the edge of the desk. Noah had not invented the rhythm. He had remembered it. Paul kept reading. There is more. The pump had been scanned again 2 days later. Same outer serial, different internal board. The service sticker was marked yellow because the board swap required external review. External review had never happened. Elena took a photo of the report. Paul stopped her. A photo is not enough. They will say it is altered. What do we do? He pulled a portable printer from under the desk. We print, we sign, we timestamp, and then I come with you. Elena stared at him. You do not have to. Yes, he said. I do. At 2:51, Daniel stood in a private conference room with Monica's statement in front of him. The language was ready. Elena Torres acted outside authority. Hospital equipment was compromised. The child's behavior may have been influenced by unauthorized contact. Daniel held the pen. Kessler stood nearby. Monica watched his hand. Then Daniel's phone vibrated. A message from an unknown number. A photo appeared. Noah's drawing. 3 dots. 2 dots. Yellow sticker. Under it, another image loaded. A service report. 9:43 p.m. 3 pressure alerts. 2 low flow warnings. Daniel forgot the pen was still in his hand. Monica saw his face. Daniel? The conference room door opened. Elena stepped in with Paul Renner beside her. Security moved at once. Daniel raised one hand. No one touched her. Elena placed the printed service report on the table. Her voice was calm, but her hands were shaking. You can sign their statement, she said. Or you can ask why your son drew the sticker from the machine your wife died beside. Kessler's expression did not break. Not fully. But for the first time, he looked at the paper before he looked at Daniel, and that was enough. Daniel put the pen down. Then he turned to security. Seal the cartridge. Document every person who touches it from this moment on. Monica opened her mouth, but Daniel did not look at her. Now, the hearing was moved to the foundation hall. That was Monica's choice. She believed expensive rooms made people behave. The hall sat on the top floor of Vale Children's Medical Center. Donors had gathered there for years under soft lights and framed photographs of smiling children. That afternoon, the tables had already been dressed for the annual foundation luncheon. White flowers, gold name cards, crystal glasses. A room built to protect reputations. Now it would decide whether the hospital had buried the truth. Daniel stood at the front, not behind the podium, but beside the long table where the evidence had been placed. Elena stood near the end. Paul Renner stood beside her, with his old toolbox at his feet. Monica sat with legal counsel. Dr. Kessler sat in the center, calm again. Too calm. Members of the board filled the first 2 rows. Behind them were department heads, senior nurses, donor representatives, and 2 internal communications staff who looked terrified of their own phones. Noah was not in the room. Daniel had refused that at first. Then Noah had tapped once when Lily showed him a picture of the hall. Not because he wanted to perform, because he wanted to be heard. So Daniel allowed him to wait outside with Marlene. The door stayed half open. Noah could leave at any time. Kessler spoke first. He did not sound angry. He sounded wounded. Elena Torres was once trusted with pediatric care, he said. A child died. Years later, she entered this hospital under a different role. She attached herself to another vulnerable child. Then she removed a component from active medical equipment. He turned to the board. We all want answers. But grief and guilt can create patterns where none exist. The sentence was almost beautiful. That was why it was dangerous. Monica played the security footage again. No sound. Elena entering Noah's room. Elena reaching for the pump. Elena removing the cartridge. The clip ended before Noah's panic could be understood. A board member looked at Daniel. This is serious. Yes, Daniel said. It is. Monica's shoulders relaxed. Too early. Daniel picked up a remote and changed the screen. The next image was Clara's voicemail transcript. Then he played the audio. Clara's voice filled the foundation hall. I found the same timing issue in 3 medication complaints. It is not random. It keeps pointing back to the same review chain. Please call me when you can. No one moved when the message ended. Daniel looked at the board. I did not give that voicemail to the original review. Monica turned sharply. Daniel continued. I told myself I was grieving. I told myself it might not matter. But the truth is, I was afraid it mattered too much. Kessler leaned forward. Daniel, Clara was not a clinician. No, Daniel said. She was my wife. And she was asking a question this hospital did not answer. Elena placed the printed service report on the table. She did not make a speech. She pointed to the first line. Pump model, then the second. External serial number, then the third. Internal board number. Paul stepped forward. These should match the service family, he said. They do not. The casing belongs to one unit. The board belongs to another. A board member frowned. Could that happen during repair? Yes, Paul said, if documented. This was not. Elena turned the page. This diagnostic scan was taken the night Clara Vale died. 9:43 p.m., 3 short pressure alerts, a pause, 2 low-flow warnings. The room was silent enough to hear paper shift. Daniel looked toward the half-open door. Noah sat outside in a chair with Marlene beside him. His hands were still. For once, no one forced him to prove anything. Kessler's voice stayed gentle. You are building a case from machines, memories, and a traumatized child. No, Elena said. From machines, timestamps, and records, someone failed to erase. Monica cut in. The cartridge was compromised by Miss Torres. Chain of custody is broken. Elena nodded. That is what the hallway camera makes it look like. She looked at Lily. Lily Park stood near the side wall in plain clothes. Her badge had been deactivated that morning. Her hands shook, but she lifted a flash drive. Before I was suspended, Lily said, I downloaded the medication alcove footage from the same hour. Monica stood. That footage is internal property. Daniel turned to her. Sit down. The room changed. Lily connected the drive. The screen showed the medication alcove outside Noah's room. At first, nothing seemed useful. The camera had no audio. The angle missed the pump. It showed only the medication cabinet's glass door, the hallway, and a strip of reflection along the polished surface. Then Elena said, Pause. Lily paused. In the reflection on the glass cabinet, a figure appeared behind the technician. Not clear enough for a face. Clear enough for a badge scan. Paul leaned forward. There. Lily zoomed in. The badge reader flashed green. The name appeared on the access log beside the video timestamp. Julian Kessler. Kessler did not move. Monica spoke first. Doctors access medication areas all the time. At 6:07? Elena asked. Before the replacement form was complete? Lily changed the screen again. Automated dispensing cabinet log. Override access. 6:07 p.m. Authorized by Dr. Julian Kessler. Daniel's face went still. Kessler stood. I checked the cabinet because I was concerned about Noah's medication plan. Then why did you not chart it? Marlene asked from the doorway. Everyone turned. Marlene had stepped into the hall entrance. Noah stood beside her. Not behind her. Beside her. Kessler's tone softened. Noah should not be here. Noah's hand tightened around Marlene's sleeve. Daniel moved toward him. No one is going to make you stay, he said. Noah looked at Elena, then at the screen, then at Kessler. He raised one hand. One tap against the doorframe. The sound was tiny, but no one dismissed it. Elena did not ask him about guilt. She did not ask him about Clara. She asked, "Noah, did you hear that same alarm before your mother fell?" One tap. Kessler spoke quickly. Suggestive questioning. Daniel turned on him. "Then answer the records." Paul opened the cartridge file. The small gray component Elena had preserved had been extracted under time-stamped witness notes after Daniel froze the room. Its internal history matched the manufacturer report. 9:43 p.m. 3 pressure alerts. 2 low-flow warnings. Then manual override. The override account appeared on the screen. Julian Kessler. A donor gasped. One board member stood. Monica whispered something to legal counsel. Kessler looked at the screen for a long moment. Then he did what men like him did when trapped. He reached for mercy before truth. "Clara was unstable that night," he said. "The situation was complex. A judgment call had to be made." Daniel stared at him. "You told me it was an unforeseeable reaction. I was protecting the institution." Elena's voice cut through the room. "No, you were protecting yourself." Kessler looked at her then. For the first time, he let hatred show. "You were already ruined. No one would believe you." The words hung in the hall. There it was. Not concern, not medicine, not trauma. The truth underneath the polish. Daniel walked to Elena's side. Slowly, publicly. He faced the board, the donors, the doctors, and the staff. "This hospital failed my wife," he said. "It failed my son. It failed Mateo Ramirez. And it failed Nurse Elena Torres." Elena looked down. Not because she was weak, because hearing the right name after years of being reduced to the wrong one hurt more than she expected. Daniel turned to security. "Dr. Kessler is to leave this floor. Monica Graff is suspended pending outside investigation. Preserve every record connected to medication overrides, pump maintenance, and pediatric complaint reviews." Monica stood. "Daniel, think about what you are doing." He looked at Noah. "I am." Noah released Marlene's sleeve. He took one step into the room. Then another. Daniel knelt before him. Noah did not speak. He only placed his small hand on his father's shoulder. That was enough for Daniel to break. Elena looked at the screen one last time. The alarm sequence remained there. 3 short alerts. A pause. 2 low-flow warnings. For 6 months, everyone had called it silence. Now the whole room understood. It had been testimony. 3 weeks later, Elena Torres returned to the pediatric floor through the front entrance. Not the service door, not the employee elevator. The front entrance. The security guard looked at her badge, then at her face, and stepped aside without making her wait. That small silence meant more than an apology. The investigation was not finished. It would take months, maybe years. Lawyers would argue. Boards would protect themselves. Reporters would find old families and old files. Dr. Kessler's name would move from award plaques to legal documents. Monica Graff would learn that polished language could not cover every wound. But that morning was not about all of that. It was about one page. Daniel met Elena outside the nursing administration office. He wore no expensive smile. He carried no flowers. He had learned by then that gifts could be another kind of control. In his hand was a corrected professional record. The line that had followed Elena for years was gone. Negligence, resulting in pediatric fatality, removed. The new line was colder, cleaner, and true. Prior disciplinary finding under independent review due to evidence of procedural suppression. It did not bring Mateo back. It did not restore the years she had lost. But it opened a door the old file had locked. Daniel handed it to her with both hands. "I should have asked who you were," he said, "before I believed what they wrote about you." Elena looked at the page, then at him. "An apology is not the same as repair." "I know." "Good," she said. Daniel nodded. Behind him, Lily Park walked out of the office with her badge restored. Marlene stood beside her, pretending not to cry. Paul Renner waited near the elevators, uncomfortable in a borrowed jacket, holding a paper cup of coffee he had not touched. Elena looked at all of them. No speeches. No applause. Just people who had almost been erased, standing in the same hallway, still there. That was the first ending. The official one. The second came in room 7. The old infusion pump was gone. So was the replacement unit. Daniel had ordered the room cleared of every machine not medically necessary. The walls had been repainted. The bed had been moved away from the corner where Noah used to hide his left hand under the blanket. But the bed rail remained. On the right side, near the place where Noah's fingers had struck metal again and again, There was a faint mark, a small, dull patch in the shine. Daniel had asked maintenance to replace the rail. Noah had tapped twice. No. So they left it. Elena entered with a small communication board under one arm. It was simple, white background, EPA, large letters, yes, no, stop, wait, hurt, scared, I remember, I do not want to answer. Noah sat on the bed in ordinary clothes. No hospital gown, no monitoring tape on his chest. Just a blue sweater and socks with whales on them. He looked at the board, then at Elena. She placed it on the table beside him. This is not because you have to stay quiet, she said. It is so no one forgets that quiet people are still answering. Noah touched the word wait. Elena waited. Daniel stood near the door. He did not step in. Not yet. He had learned that presence did not have to mean control. Noah lifted his hand. For a moment, everyone expected the old rhythm. 3 taps. A pause. 2 more. But Noah did not do it. He touched the dull mark on the rail once. Then he looked at Elena and whispered, "She heard me." The words were small, rough, almost broken, but they were words. Daniel covered his mouth. Marlene turned toward the window. Elena stayed still, because sudden joy could frighten a child as much as sudden fear. "I did," she said. Noah looked at his father. Daniel knelt. This time, he did not ask for a word. He did not ask for proof. He only opened his hand on the blanket. Noah placed his hand in it. That was the second ending. The symbol returned. The third came on a Saturday morning, 2 months later. The foundation hall had changed. The gold name cards were gone. So were the donor flowers. The room now held folding chairs, training tables, and a row of practice communication boards. On the wall was a new sign, the Clara Vale and Mateo Ramirez Listening Initiative. Below it, in smaller letters, for nurses, technicians, cleaners, transport staff, and every person who notices first. Daniel had wanted Elena's name on the sign. She refused. "This is not a monument," she told him. "Make it useful." So they did. The first class was not full of famous doctors. It was full of people hospitals usually ask to move quietly. A night cleaner from oncology, a transport aide, 2 cafeteria workers, a biomedical technician, 3 nurses, a young resident who looked embarrassed to be learning from people without white coats. Elena stood at the front beside Lily. Paul had brought an old pump casing with the board removed. Marlene had brought blank observation sheets, with one new section printed in bold. Nonverbal patient response. Do not dismiss. Document pattern, trigger, and witness. Daniel sat in the back, not as a speaker, as a father. Noah sat beside him, drawing in a notebook. The drawing was different now. No dots, no yellow sticker, no machine. A whale under a desk, a woman with a mop, a boy holding a board that said, "Wait." Near the end of the class, a cleaner raised her hand. "What if they say it is not our place?" Elena looked at her. The room waited. "Then write down what you saw," she said. "Say it once. Say it clearly. And if they do not listen, find the person who will." Daniel lowered his eyes. He knew that sentence was partly for him. Later, after everyone left, he stood outside room 7 again. The door was open. Inside, Noah sat on the floor with another child from the ward. Elena was showing them how to use the board without rushing each other. No machines were alarming. No adults were speaking over them. Then, Noah laughed. A small sound, almost shy. Daniel stood in the hallway and listened. For once, he did not step in. He did not manage the room. He did not ask what it meant. He only listened, and that was the final thing the hospital learned from the boy it had called silent. Sometimes the truth does not arrive as a scream. Sometimes it waits in a tap, a drawing, a discarded label, or a voice too small for powerful people to hear, until someone kneels low enough to listen.